And joining us now, great to welcome him, has written another great book following up his bestsellers before called Walking the Bible and Abraham. This one is called The First Love Story, Adam, Eve, and Us. Interesting topic, and we're joined today by Bruce Feiler. You see his work on PBS, also writes the This Life column for the Sunday New York Times. He joined us by telephone. And Bruce, good to talk with you today. How are you?
Good day. Nice to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, to see your schedule here. You're on a busy book tour. Are you up in Atlanta today or Georgia today? Is that where you are?
I'm up in my home state of Atlanta, headed tomorrow to my hometown of Savannah.
Yeah, you traveling all over the place, I see. So that's the bane of an author, right? You got to do these book tours.
It's a privilege, actually, to be honest. And after the journey I took looking at Adam and Eve, from the Garden of Eden in Iraq to Rome to London to Hollywood, this is safe territory for me.
Interesting topic, like I said. I mean, obviously everybody knows the story, or you're told the story of Adam and Eve either in Sunday school or maybe your parents tell it to you. But when you really think about it, you don't know a lot about them. So interesting topic to kind of explore for you, I guess, huh?
Well, my process really begins at my kitchen table. I have a working wife and twin daughters, and that means we spend a lot of time talking about the way men and women relate to each other. And a few years ago, we were in the Sistine Chapel looking up at Adam and Eve, and I realized, oh my gosh, this story has been at the heart of every conversation about men and women for 3,000 years, and as crazy as it seems, maybe they have something to teach us. And then, as you say, the question is, well, where am I going to go? Because a book opens, as you say, and as you mentioned, in the Garden of Eden in Iraq. After that, there's not that many places, but you know, when I started tugging strings, I should say, I started realizing that so many people have encountered this story, from Michelangelo to Milton to Mark Twain to Hemingway to, you know, all the way up to Bob Dylan and Beyonce, and I get to go on this incredible kind of scavenger hunt all over the world, trying to explore how people have wrestled with this story in changing times, and to find, I have to say, kind of an amazing array of ways in which it's really relevant to our lives today.
And when you think about it, it's written in the book of Genesis. There's really not a lot about it in there. I mean, there's a few chapters of it, but that's about it, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that the story turns out to be two stories, and the second story has all the famous scenes of Adam being created from the earth and her being created from his body, and eating the fruit and getting kicked out and having two children, and one murders the other. I mean, right there, that's a lot.
Very Shakespearean.
The beginning of the story, exactly, except that Shakespeare would have, made that into 4 plays, and it's 2,000 words in Genesis. But the opening story really has them, in Genesis 1, created entirely equal. What's true for the man is true for the woman, and I think that basically in the story you see this huge array of emotions and a kind of back and forth of power. But what happened was kind of organized religion, and by organized religion I mean men, kind of got a hold of the story and really weaponized it against women. And so the story that I'm able to tell in the first love story of how basically men and women kind of fought back against that to today, that we really see them more as equals, as in a back-and-forth relationship, and that really is the underpinning for the equality that we're struggling to have between the sexes today.
Yeah, I guess from a lot of men's perspective, they blame Eve for being the temptress, right? Having him eat the apple, or wasn't supposed to do that, so they blame the women, right? Isn't that that's the chauvinist point of view?
Blame the woman, but what's interesting is that, what is the first of all, it's not an apple, as you know, it's the fruit.
Right.
That's a mistake I make.
It's become an apple over the years. Apple. Right.
Exactly. Some people think fig, some people think pomegranate. But what is it? It's the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So, there may be sin involved, but she's reaching for knowledge. And then what happens is she offers it to Adam, and then Adam eats. So he chooses love over duty. They choose each other, even knowing, in effect, they're going to get in trouble. And then they manage to stay together, have 2 children. One murders the other, Cain murders Abel, and then they're able to stick together again. So it's actually the sense of resilience that they have, I think, that's so relevant and so powerful.
And you talk about it in the book too. Is it a kind of an apocryphal story, or these were the actual first 2 people on Earth? And if so, how did we populate to beyond that? Because brothers and sisters would have had to get together to populate the Earth, right? I mean, it's interesting to think how that works.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. So look, this is how I look at it. I think of what the dean of biblical archaeologists told me. I don't know if Adam and Eve existed then, but I know that they exist now, right? They're in the Sistine Chapel. They're in Paradise Lost.
Right.
You know, Pope Francis talked about them in Philadelphia. I was standing right there. So basically, we don't know if they're true or not, but we know that they have become true because for generations of people who've encountered the story. And for sure, this story was used as a way to keep down women, and that was very true. So in some ways, it's the legacy of the story that's as powerful as the story itself.
You mentioned the Garden of Eden, and you talk about it again in the book. You went to in Iraq. Is that where people think it is or was?
Yeah, well, the Bible, it says it's where four rivers come together. Two are the Tigris and Euphrates. They come together in southern Iraq. But what I found for many years, first in Walking the Bible and now in this book on Adam and Eve, the first love story, if you go to places connected to the story, you'll see the story differently. So in Iraq, you've got land emerging out of water, kind of watery chaos. That's exactly what's in the opening chapters of Genesis. So these stories really know their surroundings, and I'll say they know human nature a lot, and their ability to capture that is quite striking.
Is it a bit of a tourist destination? I mean, the people there know that. Do they
no,
sell
it's
that?
a war zone. So
no, but I mean
it's
that
a
area.
War zone. There is a garden. There is a garden there. It's got 3 living olive trees and 1 dead one. It's covered in concrete. It turns out Joni Mitchell was right. They paved paradise. But they're, I'm sure I'm sure they'd love tourists to come. But when I went, I was actually almost robbed. So it's not. I don't exactly.
I just wondered if that particular area, they knew people would come to see it if they capitalized on that, make a buck.
Well, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, wherever you go, you can see, in Jerusalem for sure, you've got, Noah's Ark wood, or, this is a piece of the cross. I mean, if you took all the pieces of wood that were sold as pieces of the cross, you'd have an entire yacht, maybe a fleet of yachts. So, no, I think that, look, people want to feel connected to the story, and I want to feel connected to the story, right? And I think that what's interesting to me is the way it speaks to our time. Let's just talk about positive psychology, the happiness movement. What have they told us? Relationships are important to well-being, right? Happiness is love in so many ways. The opposite of that is loneliness. What's the first thing God says about human beings in the Bible? It's not good to be alone. Like, the Bible gets there 3,000 years before social science. And so to me, I look at my 12-year-old daughters, and they think their phone has all the answers to every problem. But that's not true. Like, we need wisdom from the past, especially wisdom that has survived for 30 centuries. So you put the past, you put the Bible in dialogue with the present. You put the Bible in dialogue with kind of brain scans and social science and computers. When they overlap, it's electrifying. And that's really what was the most satisfying part of working on this book for me.
I was going to say, from when you started the project, through all your travels and everything, talking to different people, did it change your mind in any way of how you thought about Adam and Eve to begin with?
What I thought about Adam and Eve, and what I thought I'm married almost 15 years, and what I thought about my own relationship. I think what happened to me is I went in to write a book about Adam and Eve, and that's why my book is called The First Love Story. Wrote a book about love, and I was reminded really that love is about resilience, right? About overcoming hardships. It's about balancing being independent and being interdependent, and then also about learning to tell a story together. Right? Love is a story we tell with another person. That's really what I learned. And when you get a rough spot, as we all do, you add a new chapter to your life story.
Well, it's a fascinating book, and again, fascinating people, Adam and Eve, and like you said, their sons and how it all worked out. But it's called The First Love Story, Adam, Eve, and Us. We've been talking with Bruce Feiler today. Bruce, you give out a website or where people can get more information about you and the book?
Yeah, the book. Yeah, exactly. It's The First Love Story, Adam, Eve, Us. I'm Bruce Feiler, and so you can go to brucefeiler.com. That's F-E-I-L-E-R, Bruce Feiler. You can follow me on social media. The book is available everywhere. And really, I invite you, if you care about the Bible, your own relationship, love, come on this journey. You'll be surprised, but I think you'll learn something, and in the end, I think you'll be uplifted, because this story is a success, and gosh, we all know we need successful love stories to model our lives on today.
And even Mae West makes an appearance in the book, so you really run the gamut. That was an interesting story. We'll let the audience
oh my God, love that story with her getting in trouble for kind of sexing up Eve. Oh my gosh.
Well, let them read about that.
You have to go to the book. No time.
Bruce, great talking to you. Thanks for taking the time, and hopefully we can do it again.
My pleasure. See you down the road.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America, isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to DougMilesMedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at DougMilesMedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles Media.